All right, everybody, thank you for coming. I'd like to welcome Mayor Joines.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day in Winston-Salem here in the springtime. We're happy to be here today doing one of the most favorite things that I get involved in is the historic marker program. And we've put these all over the county and the city to recognize important structures and programs that are part of our community. I think it's so right and appropriate that we do those things to remember our history and remember those individuals who made Winston-Salem and Forsyth County such great places. I want to thank the Historic Properties Commission. Janet Schill is here representing them. You'll hear from her in just a moment. And the hard work that they do. And they don't do these projects just willy-nilly. They do a very formal review process before they make a decision to award the placement of these markers. The interesting thing is this building, unfortunately, is going to come down, but a new fire station is going to come up, and we'll take down the old fire station over there when this one's done, and the marker will be placed here very prominently. I want to recognize our city manager who is here this morning, Ms. Lee Garrity, there in the back with his wife this morning. Got her out working with him this morning. So we're going to hear from, first of all, as elected officials. I'm going to first call on Mayor Pro Tem Adams to give remarks, and then we have a recorded message from Councilmember James Taylor and Councilmember Kevin Mundy. But we'll start with our Mayor Pro Tem, Denise Adams.
Good morning. Oh, come on, y'all. We ain't been out in 2 years. We've been at the house with lint on pajamas and, not washing our face and other things. But good morning. And we can actually see each other again besides some beady eyes that you gotta wonder, do I need to call the rescue squad? I am so thrilled to be here this morning. Like the mayor said, I think it's very important that we always identify and recognize the history of our city and county. Winston-Salem and Forsyth County, Kernersville, Clemens, everybody, Walkertown, we all threaded together like a great piece of fabric. And we can't survive without every thread in the fabric. We wouldn't be where we are now if every thread wasn't working together in the fabric to bind us together. The rescue squad, again, back then, we didn't call you guys emergency responders. We didn't call you essential workers, but you were that then and you are that now. And I just want to let you know that the city of Winston-Salem and all of us, we appreciate you. We appreciate the legacy that you have left and are leaving. We appreciate your families, your community, and your friends for allowing you to serve the people of Winston-Salem and help so many lives be for the better. So with that, as the mayor said, we're going to put you in a prominent spot. We just got some construction going on, but we're definitely going to put you in a prominent spot. And Mayor, we're going to even blast out. I call it the city's WS13 ESPN blast. When we move that marker to the place where it needs to be, we're going to make sure that the community and everyone knows it's there. Even if we have to let the press know so that WXII, Fox, and ABC can come out and see and again rewind the tape on all of the efforts that you've done. I got somebody here, a couple of people, Gail Cook. Gail Cook, stand up for a minute. Gail Cook just told me what she did. And we've been knowing each other for about, 7, 8 years now? And I was like, the first woman, I'm like, I got to get the group on Thursday. We got to recognize you. She's a shero. She's a trailblazer. But again, thank you all so much for being here this morning. I hope you enjoy your day and make it a great day and do something for somebody else besides yourself. Thank you.
My name is James Taylor, and I serve as Public Safety Chairman for the City of Winston-Salem. I want to take a moment and thank the Historic Resources Commission for recognizing the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad. And most certainly, I'd like to thank the members of the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad for working tirelessly to provide medical coverage and rescue services for the citizens of our community for well over 70 years. On the state and local levels, the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad has been a leader in emergency and rescue care. And what stands out to me is that they answered calls on a moment's notice and received no pay for their time invested. That tells us that they served this community from their heart, and today we honor them for their service. On behalf of the Public Safety Committee for the City of Winston-Salem, we thank the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad for helping our city to be a better place to live, work, and relax. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Councilmember Kevin Mundy from Winston-Salem's Southwest Ward. I wish I could be with you in person, but I am serving as an ambassador to a group of Friendship Force visitors today. Most people my age and younger have been taught our whole lives to dial 911 for help in case of an emergency. But for much of the first half of the 20th century, there was no one to call. No one to help when tragedy struck. No one to transport an injured victim to the hospital. No one to make a water rescue or to bring the jaws of life to extract crash victims from a crushed vehicle. We owe a debt of gratitude to Roy Kane and the other early pioneers who established the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad in 1937. Throughout the rest of the century and even into the 2000s, this group of well-trained, well-equipped professionals served as unpaid volunteers, saving countless lives in our community. Today, we honor their legacy as we dedicate this historical marker. And to the many women and men who selflessly served in any capacity with the Rescue Squad, we say thank you. We remember you and we honor you.
Well, thank you, and I know the council members would like to have been here this morning. I understand Councilmember Barbara Burke is here in the back there. Councilmember Burke, glad to have you. You don't want to say a word, but just want to recognize you. Why don't you stand up so everybody can see you there? Well, come on up and say a word to everybody.
Good morning, everyone. I am so honored to be here today for this historic event. I am so grateful that in 1937, the rescue squad began right here, and it served as a model for our state, for others to follow. This is definitely history, and we are proud of it. And as council member for the Northeast Ward right here, I am most proud to be part of this recognition. Congratulations to you, and I thank you for all that you have done in the past, over the years, and now to serve our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Burke. The marker describes a lot of the history there, but I know the Historic Resources Commission may tell us a little bit more, but we're delighted to have Ms. Janet Schill from the Historic Resources Commission will speak. Following her will be a video that was done by Katie Gord that will give a brief history of the rescue squad. Following that, we'll have Ed Hampton, who is a former chief of the Charlotte Life Saving Crew and a member of the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad. Following him will be Robert Myers, the former board president and chief of the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad. And then following him will be Jeff Henshaw, the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad. Then we'll unveil the marker. So, Michelle.
Thank you, Alan Joins. My name is Janet Schill, and I'm a member of the Forsyth County Historic Resource Commission. I actually have the privilege of sitting on the marker committee, so I get to hear about all these really great historic resources that we have in our county. So that's a privilege for me. So I want to thank you on behalf of the Resource Commission for being here today. Our very first local historic marker was installed in 2001, and since then we've installed over 60 markers in our county. These markers help residents remember and learn about important places, events, and people in the community's collective history. These markers identify a place on our landscape that should never be forgotten. I also want to mention here that I live in a 1913 firehouse, so I feel like I'm especially, that this particular building has special meaning for me. So today we're going to celebrate the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad, which I learned something new today. Not only were they the first rescue squad in the state of North Carolina, but the second in the entire United States. So that's something really to be proud of, yeah. Roy Kane brought the idea with him from Roanoke, Virginia, which was the first rescue squad, and he found a supporter in Thurman Chatham, and together they established the rescue squad in 1937. The rescue squad provided life-saving services during emergencies. They had durable medical equipment like iron lungs and oxygen tanks. Then after merging with Forsyth County in 2009, they eventually disbanded in 2013. So we want to thank Jeff Henshaw on the end here for applying for this marker today and bringing publicity to this very important local history. Thank you, Jeff, very much. Once again, thank you for joining us today as we celebrate this very first Winston-Salem Rescue Squad and its important history. Thank you.
In 1936, Roy Kane arrived in Winston-Salem for a job in the textile industry, having just departed Roanoke, Virginia. While there, he was a member of the group that was known as the Roanoke Life-Saving Crew, the first volunteer rescue squad in the United States. The rescue squad concept was the brainchild of Roanoke businessman Julian Stanley Wise. In 1909, Wise was walking along the banks of the Roanoke River in Roanoke, Virginia, when he witnessed two men capsize a canoe in deep, rough water. Though many onlookers saw the accident, none of them had the equipment or the training to offer much help, and both men drowned. Wise later said, "I vowed that I never again would watch a man die when he could have been saved if only those around him knew how." That incident stayed with Julian, and on May 28, 1928, Julian and 9 co-workers at the Norfolk and Western Railway began their first volunteer rescue squad. When Kane arrived in Forsyth County, there was no such agency in existence in the county or even the state. Seeking the support of Thurman Chatham, a local businessman and civic leader, they together became the core of the beginning of the new agency, the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad. The agency was established in 1937 and began training and raising funds for equipment. Starting with a small group of 15 to 20 men, the agency responded to emergencies such as traffic accidents and drownings in lakes and rivers. During the 1940s, the squad maintained a stockpile of iron lungs for the treatment of polio and even assisted in moving the devices to different hospitals and polio camps all across northwestern North Carolina. Prior to the creation of home health agencies, the squad maintained a stockpile of durable medical equipment such as oxygen tanks, crutches, wheelchairs, and hospital beds for those needing home care. Along with funeral homes, the squad also provided ambulance transportation to the sick and injured long before the creation of the Forsyth County Ambulance Service in 1968. The squad found its largest and ultimately final home in 1968 when it opened the state-of-the-art station on North Liberty Street, right beside the newly constructed Winston-Salem Fire Station 3. As the 1970s continued, the squad was instrumental in training Forsyth County volunteer fire departments in the art of rescue services as they worked together to provide high-quality service to the citizens of the county. One of the most important roles for the squad was support of crash fire rescue services at Smith Reynolds Airport. The rescue squad was a common sight at football games, rodeos, and the Dixie Classic Fair, providing medical coverage to the attendees in case of emergencies. Over the years, the rescue squad provided not only basic rescue services, but was the second squad in the state recognized as a heavy rescue provider by the State Rescue Association in the late 1990s. Services were expanded to include collapse and cave-in events, water and dive rescue events, and the agency was the first in the state to have a dedicated animal rescue unit. The squad also won the State Rescue Association Heavy Rescue Competition twice in the 1990s. The story of the agency is only as remarkable as the people who formed the squad. In the mid-1990s, over 3/4 of the membership roster had college degrees. They answered calls at a moment's notice and spent countless hours staffing the station and training to improve their skills, all done without receiving any pay for their time. As the community grew, the number of volunteers declined along with the expansion of services from the city and county, so the rescue squad entered into an agreement to merge with Forsyth County EMS in 2009. This arrangement allowed the members to continue to serve and the equipment assets to be utilized, but in a smaller role. This merger continued until 2013 when the EMS divested itself from rescue services, turning their services over to the Winston-Salem Fire Department and the fire volunteer programs in Forsyth County. And the remaining membership and equipment was transferred to Mineral Springs Volunteer Fire Department. The heavy rescue unit was repainted, but door plaques and decals were added, giving credit to where the apparatus came from and to the members who served the community over 70 years. Eventually, every county in North Carolina had some form of rescue squad. The citizens of the state are indebted to Roy Kane and the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad for the foresight to form such an agency and to become the leader in emergency and rescue care. For such vision and devotion to community well-being, it's appropriate that the Forsyth County Historical Resources Commission honored the state's first and oldest rescue squad with a marker commemorating the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? When Jeff called me and asked me to have a small part this morning, I had two thoughts. Thought number one was, I guess everybody else turned him down. And two was, what am I going to talk about? Because Jeff made a mistake. He turned a former salesman loose with a microphone, so God help him. But I tried to find some tractor feed computer paper so I could say I made a few notes and drop it, but that stuff doesn't exist anymore. Before I get started, if you choose to join me, I want to pause for a moment of silence for our former members and their families who gave so much to this community and this city and this county. The thousands of hours of dedicated, donated time. So if you'll join me for just a minute, please. Amen. As you have heard from Ms. Still, the squad was formed in 1937 by a gentleman named Roy Kane. And I have kind of a unique perspective in this because I was a young buck back in those days. I was born in 47, but I did know Mr. Kane and I knew his brother CB. CB was actually an active member here for a number of years, and I think he was about the age I am now, which is 75, and he was still driving a Cadillac ambulance here. Some of you may remember that. I know Robert does. What does that mean, Robert, that you're old too, I guess? Old people ruling, don't you forget. That's right. As you've heard, this squad was the first one formed in North Carolina, and currently the Elkin Rescue Squad is the oldest squad. That, by the way, is the squad that the Kane brothers were in initially. And also, Roy Kane was the State Rescue Association secretary for a number of years. When I thought about what I wanted to talk about this morning, I thought probably the best way to do this was to do a little research. And fortunately, I found some pretty cool information. On June the 3rd of 1937, Roy Kane met with 20 interested men at the YMCA. In 1938, the squad was listed as having assisted with the drowning on the Yadkin River. The squad at that time was comprised of Captain Roy Kane, Lieutenant C.B. Kane, Secretary Herbert Caldwell, and Secretary Treasurer C.D. Kozar. They had two doctors who served as medical advisors, an attorney as legal advisors. Yes, and even in 1938, people were suing each other, and it's only gotten worse. This was an all-volunteer organization. There were no charge for services. And primarily what they did back in those days was respond to wrecks and drownings. There were 10 members who had standard and advanced first aid, and they decided that there would be a maximum of 20 members. And having been a chief, I can think back to, boy, that would have been a whole lot better, right, Robert? Just 20 instead of 50. Fewer problems to deal with. At that time, they had a boat, grappling hooks, K-pop coats. Can somebody tell me what a K-pop coat is? Life vest. Thank you, Dr. Roy. Sage of all sages. Life preservers and a gas mask. Now, how they acquired a gas mask, I don't know. In 1940, they added a panel van and a heavy equipment trailer. In 43, they acquired a portable lighting plant that had 5 50 candle power lights. And if those lights were like the ones we had in Charlotte, you could cook breakfast on them. They got so blooming hot. One of the unique things I had the privilege of helping with were the iron lung patients. We actually had a patient here. It seems to me like her first name was Carolyn. Does that sound right, Robert?
I think so.
Okay.
You know I'm old.
I thought we'd already established that fact. Okay, thank you, Robert. So we actually had iron lungs. When this building was built, there was a raised section right over here where we kept the iron lungs and kept the large oxygen cylinders. And that was the most favorite part of pulling nighttime duty, because you got to get in the oxygen truck and deliver oxygen big tanks all over the place. My favorite place to go was to a man who had emphysema, something awful. And while you were changing the tank, he would smoke 2 or 3 cigarettes. So that made my day every time I went over there. But we also, or not we, they transported patients to what they call polio camps. Because if you remember back in those days, polio was a major, major health problem. In 1947, that was a banner year, that's when I was born, Winston-Salem Rescue Squad and, interestingly enough, Charlotte Life Saving Crew were both incorporated. In the case of Charlotte Life Saving, that happened on the day I was born. Isn't that kind of an omen of things to come? The squad acquired a portable iron lung that was donated by the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and at that time they had 18 members, and the captain was R.T. Clinch. Initially, the head man or head person was referred to as a captain, and it changed to chief when? Do you remember? Anybody?
Late 90s.
No, it actually was before that.
Okay.
Maybe early 90s.
All right, thank you. In 1949, there was a 12-foot boat donated by Zinzendorf Laundry. And for those of you who don't have gray hair, hearing aids, and pacemakers, that was a major company here in Winston-Salem. There was a trailer built by the members, Brenner Iron and Steel. Are they still in business here up on Indiana? I think it is. They donated the materials, and the squad members built it. They acquired a second boat and trailer and motor, drag irons, grab hooks, portable iron lung, a diving helmet, 2 light plants, a steel stretcher, which probably was a Stokes basket, gas mask, breathing apparatus, torches, and a water pump. So their cache of equipment was starting to grow. One thing I found kind of interesting was back in those days, you would call for service Winston-Salem Police Department, Forsyth County Sheriff's Department, Bugler's Funeral Home, or Wall Funeral Home. In 1950, the iron lung truck was given to the squad, and 3 new Scott Air Packs were acquired for rescue in burning buildings. And again, that kind of parallels my experience in Charlotte. For years, Charlotte Life Saving Crew did all the medical standby and rescue for the Charlotte Fire Department long before they got involved in any of that. The squad conducted 52 drills and meetings, responded to 2 drownings, 12 stock car races. That was one of my favorite things to do. And administered oxygen to 10 people. In 1952, a new home was moved into. It was an old outbuilding behind the Elks Club on High Street. And I remember that. They had a small Dodge truck and a larger Chevrolet truck that they kept there. And both those trucks had red lights and sirens. I thought that was important to remember too. 1960, a station wagon was acquired with 2-way radio, wrecking tools, first aid kits, and a resuscitator. The squad had no intention to compete with the funeral home ambulances, and I remember those days because my first career was in funeral service, and that's how I started it at 15 years old at Bugler's Funeral Home. So let's see, that will be 60 years in July. 1968, the squad received the first funeral home ambulance from Forsyth County. I might add that that thing would run like a scalded dog, but would not stop. Does anybody remember that? I was told that. I was not involved. Jeff, you're laughing. Why are you laughing? April 6th, as you've heard previously, the new headquarters where we are now, 2955 North Liberty Street, we moved in here. There were several really important things happened in that year. EMT training became available. I think in '74, the squad acquired a Jaws of Life tool. A dive team was organized, the first large animal rescue team, confined space and high angle teams. And Randy Temples, where's Randy Temples? Weren't you the training officer the year that we taught everybody BRT without them knowing it? What we did, Randy and I think Gary Woolley was chief then, we decided we'd just build a training program around basic rescue technician training, and at the Christmas party we gave everybody their certificates, which was kind of fun. In the late 1990s, and you've heard this previously, Winston Rescue was certified as a second heavy rescue provider. For those of you who are not in this business, that is a major milestone because it requires a tremendous amount of equipment and training as well. So that was a real step forward. In the late 2000s, the annual call volume decreased from 3,000 to 100. And those calls were pretty evenly divided among human rescue, animal rescue, medical standbys, and at the same time, the county squads collectively were running about 10,000 calls. So you can see that the call numbers really went down significantly. In that same year of 2000, Winston-Salem Rescue and Forsyth EMS began to negotiate for several months. I saw Dan Osmick, you were involved in that, weren't you? I thought so. December the 21st of 2009, the county commissioners approved an agreement to transfer the members and assets to Forsyth EMS, and you heard earlier the trucks behind us here was transferred up to Mineral Springs. It looks like they're taking real good care of it. That was number 603. I notice it's now 618. In 2010, Winston-Salem Rescue merged with Forsyth County EMS. Volunteer members became EMS reserves. January the 1st of 2014, that merger became effective. Station 6 closed after 76 years of service. Just a couple of comments on things that the squad accomplished. Over the years, the squad hosted 2 state conventions for the North Carolina Association of Rescue and EMS. Reynolds Tobacco Company played a major role in funding. Robert Myers and a gentleman who is deceased, Dick Petrie, were major players in that because you guys had the ears of the right people downtown, and Reynolds Tobacco helped us immensely. There were thousands of duty hours put in, and Monday night was my night to pull duty with Woolley. And those of you who know Woolley know that that's a treat to spend, I better be careful how I say this, to be on duty with him all night here. We had some adventures which we will not talk about.
The statute of limitations has expired.
It has. And it's, yeah, okay, that's enough. One of the things that I always remember, and I will forever carry it in my heart, was that this group was a family. We weren't just a bunch of people who did what we did, but we truly loved each other. We had dances right where you folks are sitting right now. We had Christmas parties. Back in those days, Forsyth Rescue would send their crew up here to stand by. We would do the same thing for them. There were mobile radios acquired by Arnold Horton through the Winston-Salem Police Department. As they got newer technology, we got the old radios and put them in our personal vehicles, so it enabled us to have a better communication. One of the former captains named Carl Schill operated the Conoke restaurant, and he always cooked for the Christmas party, and that was one of the things that he absolutely loved doing. couple of things about me quickly. I was a member of this squad twice, back in the late 60s, early 70s. When I finished college, the last college was Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science in 71. I moved to Charlotte and worked there for several years, met my wife Sue. Our 3 children were born there, and in '85, job transfer took us to Greensboro. We moved, when we moved, Sue and I became active with this squad. Even though we lived in Greensboro, we'd come over and pull standbys and do what we could to help. Since then, I have been a member, or she and I have been members of Pinecroft Sedgefield Fire Department, and we currently serve at Pleasant Garden Fire Department, where I'm a fire equipment operator, and I'm the assistant chief of our county water rescue team. I want to thank all of you for coming. It's a real pleasure for me to be with you. I've seen people here that I haven't seen in a coon's age. You young folks know what a coon's age is? Probably don't. It's a long, long time. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you, and God bless each and every one of you and your families. Thank you.
You can see I got a list. I'm old.
That's a pretty big font right there.
Huh?
Font.
What does that say?
That says welcome.
I can't see it. I'm Robert Myers. I was one of the chiefs here. See one sitting right there, Jack. We had several. And when I come to the rescue squad, I thought I was going to stay 2 or 3 years. So I believe I like that. So 37 years later, I was still here. And he's talking about that iron lung. The last patient in there passed away the night we was having Christmas dinner. You remember that, Doc? And Carl Schill's done all the cooking, and he could cook. We met on Monday nights, every Monday night. In fact, we started doing for Tech one Monday night here. And some of the things that we did, and we done a bunch of it. CPR, drownings, car wrecks, airplane crashes, shooting, stabbings, medical issues. And when Hugo hit here, we had too many calls to tell you how many it was. Don't have no idea. And we also had the experience going on a call. I went to Holiday Inn that one year, and the lady was pregnant. She said, I've been to the doctor. They told me to go home. This is as far as I could get. And when I got there, I like when people says, I delivered one. I caught a baby. You don't deliver nothing. And one evening we got a call. I forgot what year it was. You know, Jack? Roy? When the bridge fell in Yadkin River. We was called out on it. And we could see from here to there, it was so foggy. And we went up, what's the name of that place up there, Jack? Salem. We finally got up there, and a bridge had collapsed across Yadkin River. And so we got a boat in, finally. In fact, they had it in the newspapers. I don't know why Journal Sentinel was there, because we couldn't hardly get there. And we got what we still had a little baby at 5 years old, still lost. Leroy Everhart, Paul Ferguson, and went up there the next day and found her in about, 30 minutes? And we stood by. We had two presidents come through, and it was President Ford and President Carter. We pulled standby up here, and the way they done that, the old people over here, when the police department had a office up here at Simos, you remember that? We had a police station there. So they called and they wanted a couple of people to come. Tom Patterson, that had passed away now. Me and Paul went over there and never talked to nobody. We walked in that door and they said, Robert, you and Tom, we didn't know nobody. They knowed us. And we also used to go to Dixie Clark Fairground, and we stood by. It got to be 11, 12 days a year. Is that about right? Wasn't they open 11? And we stood by up there, and this was for nothing when we started it. And later on, they donated some little money. And we also, at the Robert E. Lee Hotel, this side, the people, I know it right here. You young people won't know this. March the 26, 1972, they imploded the Robert E. Lee Hotel, and we stood by for that. And I'd been in the squad 3 months. I come in 72, Jack come in 71, and I seen him in here. Don't know him now. And we had this was a family, absolutely a family, and we loved it. I can remember when I first met Doc here. Wasn't no Doc then. He come out of New York and was a paramedic. Come down here because he wanted to marry a Southern girl. You hear her laughing, don't you? Roy was in graduate school, and it wasn't long, 4 or 5 years. He come out being a doctor. And we've had, now these people here has come and was in the rescue squad, stayed here long enough, and some still here, would be here. Physician's assistant, nurses, and my daughter was in the squad and she was a nurse. Lawyers, police officers, sheriff's deputies, and it goes on and on and on that people come through here, going to school, and me and Jack's been friends 51, 52 years on account of the rescue squad. You know, we talked about the rescue squad and we talk about first and we're second. Let me tell you where we're number one. Me and Jack talked about this to start with, and some of the others. Why don't we have women in this rescue squad? We brought that up, talked to people, most family. We had about as many female doing work, not them dinners. They drove the truck. And that little young'un right there, she was our rock and our rope. You didn't do it right. If you didn't do it right, you had a chewing coming. Them two babies right there started coming to this rescue squad when it was probably, how many days old?
About 2 weeks. They got out of hospital.
And that ain't kidding. That's a fact. They never missed a meeting. They come in with the kids. Y'all 16 now, aren't you? 15? Huh? 19. 19? But anyway, this was a family. Everybody in here. Thank y'all.
Good job. All right.
Look at things here right quick. Hey, good morning. You got a whole lot better response than I did. That's all right. That's all right. I know what's happened. I dealing with a preacher man over here. The mind can only absorb what the butt can endure. You guys know that if the sermon's shorter, you give more in the offering plate, and the ladies running the nursery don't stare at you through the back of the sanctuary, and the roast isn't burning. So I guess it's time we need to get this going. All right. I'm the last one. We got a marker to display. I want stories to be told, cake to be eat, and friendship and fellowship to follow. So here's my part of this. I'd like to thank everyone who came today. You've heard from the mayor, pro tem, other folks from the city, 2 former and well-respected members of our squad, and I guess it's time for me to close the loop on things and truly talk about why we're here. Before we even start, I have to thank several people. First of all, hats off to Heather and the Historical Resources Commission for making this work on short notice. Mark Tornstrom, where you at, Mark? Back in the back from Bound Tree, helping us out with some refreshments for today. Ginger Myers Mendenhall, man, when this went down, we started talking, and I had no idea that it would be this big. No idea. Me with a wild hair idea, and it turning into something like this. So truly, I'm thankful for all of you who are here. So how did we end up here? All we have to do is turn the hands of time back to October 2020. A social media post describing the dedication of a long overdue historical marker for the Roanoke Life-Saving Crew. Through the video, you know a member of that organization helped start our squad. I think we all knew this day would come and this station would go away, and none of us with ties to the squad wanted the coming generations to forget or not know about us. As the post about Roanoke got passed from former member to former member, the seed for a similar idea was planted here. Ross Patterson, B.J. Joyce, Jason Gore, and myself came together as a grassroots committee focusing on what we could do here for Station 6. The wheels began turning, and we discovered the Historical Resources Commission's marker program. There was only one problem. It was mid-October, and the application was due the last of November. In classic work the problem as a team scenario, we were able to complete the application, and with the help of Katie Gore, develop an amazing video that told our story and our request for the marker. Now, we were all excited to be notified that we received the marker, but this thing called COVID that has been around for the last couple of years has impacted us all, and our celebration has been delayed until today. As only it could happen in true rescue form, we had only a mere 2 weeks to advertise and plan this event, as we were unexpectedly notified of the raising of the station the first week in April. Here's where even more folks played integral roles in making things happen today. Since the squad closed, the majority of the artifacts that you see over here on my right, your left, had dropped off the radar screen. Hats off to B.J. Joyce and David Kohler for their unwavering persistence in tracking down some of the things we have here today. Renee is not able to be with us here today, but a special shout out goes to Renee Bridges from Forsyth County EMS. The Caden scrapbook, which you see up here in front, was the last seen at some offices in the health department sometimes back, and I called her asking about it. With no ties here, other than me pleading to see if she could help, a couple of days later, voila, I get a text that the book was located, albeit in very rough shape, but here for us to see today and hopefully to be stored appropriately for future generations to see. Whew, what a 2 weeks. All right. Now, I don't know who leaked what I was going to say to you two old farts, but obviously you guys have influenced me some way, because the first word I'm going to mention is the word family. The other thing that I'm going to start with today, guys, we're going to go back to Sesame Street, and the letter of the day is F. Okay, work with me here. We're going to start with family. The noun family has multiple meanings. A social unit living together. Robert and Ed have already said we lived here at this station. From regular Monday night meetings to weekly duty times, the amount of time we spent together here would be astronomical to calculate. Definition number 2, a primary social group with parents and children's. That's my dad, that's my dad, that's my dad. He refers to me as his grasshopper anyhow. But our senior members, our young pups, we look to our senior members to lead us in our time. And sometimes not with just 1, but 2, but 3 kids at a time. Yes, at one point in time in this organization, we had families here that had singletons, twins, and triplets. Chris and Susan cut up me here today. Yeah, my 2 sitting up front right here. Laura's right. About 2 weeks after they were born, they made their first meeting, and they had better attendance than a lot of other people on the roll. All right? A collection of things with a common attribute. I see some of my fire department colleagues in the back. Nothing against you, gentlemen, but I've always believed that squad members were always a little different breed than your average volunteer. Maybe it was because of the medical aspect of our role, but I think we share a common belief in the value of protecting and saving a human life. An association of people who share common beliefs and activities. If you stepped through that front door here, you were passionate about rescue. It was an unwritten requirement. We believed in the medically directed rescue concept, and we spent countless hours training to be the best that we could. And lastly, a person having kinship with another or others. It wasn't just the calls and the training here. It was time spent away together here at home as friends, on vacations, on trips, at the gun range, sometimes a group of us even surviving a hurricane together on a dive trip to Cozumel. All right? The next F is field as an occupation. Again, you've trained me well, Robert. We all came together to perform rescue tasks, but where did we come from? Blue and white collar workers forming an amalgamation like no other. Where you at, Billy? I worked the word amalgamation into this. This is impressive. That is impressive. Machine operators, attorneys, businessmen, students, both graduate and undergraduate, accountants, public safety providers, doctors, myself as a PA and others, nurses, cooks, alike, all quite the diverse group. You stole my speech again. Next in line, the next F, fair, as in the fair. For years on end, 10 days of the fall could break the spirit of a good member knowing the amount of time we would spend at the fairgrounds. We knew it would rain, and unfortunately, Cam Lane, I know we tried to get Bailey Howard here. I tried to turn on him, but unfortunately, Bailey's not feeling well this week, and he was unable to be with us. But we knew Bailey Howard and the police department would be right there with us every day. By the way, bits and fixins, anyone? All right. Y'all got that joke. All right. The next F is fraternity and fun. We became a tight-knit group who would be there for each other and do for each other any place, any time, anywhere. The closeness was evident even when we went away to classes away from town. Billy, freezing to death in the Nantahala River, rainy rescue colleges in Gastonia in the mud, numerous trips to Stone and Pilot Mountain, and Billy Wade, a trip to Shelby and Charlottesville that will forever be etched in our brains of uniqueness. Another part of that fraternity was evidenced by the fact that in the 4 years we competed at the state rescue competition, we won it 2 times. Next is finality. Not only from the organization, but those who helped make it. Roy Kane, Carl Schills, Arnold Horton, Dick Petrie, Tommy Patterson, Rayford McCarg, Ronnie Mayberry, Chip Logan, and others that have now left us. For every time there is a season, and we knew the squad in a metropolitan area like Winston-Salem could not last forever. No one ever wants to see something go away, but alas, the merge into EMS and the eventual transfer to Mineral Springs, all happening with the thought and the memories of what used to be. The very last F, though, is interesting. It's the future. So as this home and the home of the squad since April of 1968, all right, so you thought 68 was a good year, or excuse me, you said 47 for you, Ed? All right, being born, the squad, the whole 9 yards. Well, 68's a good year because April of 68 was when this building was built. I was born in September of 68, so there you go about that. From 1968 until its closing and now scheduled for demolition next week, another chapter in our history closes, yet opens. Old 603, and by the way, Billy and the guys, it's always 603. I know it says 618 on the side, but it's 603 up on the top. And the patches are on the side. Our old truck is at Mineral Springs, and City Fire has our old collapse unit, all lasting tangible items that link us to our past without most people even realizing the connection. This structure contains many memories for most of us. Probably my most vivid is taking out that door panel with a rescue truck with Laura one night, going to a pin-in to assist Beeson Crossroads on I-40. We'll save that story for the fun and frivolity times, but thank God it was the Volvo and not the Spartan when I took out the door. I can't make this up, guys. All right. Billy, don't worry. The self-deploying rescue Hearst tool story will come up at some point in time. So this station will be gone next week, but when the new Fire Station 3 is completed, beside it will be a marker that notes the history, the legacy, and the impact that the squad has made over its years of service. All right, guys, I ask you to go back with me in history one more time to the television show Emergency. On the premiere episode, the scene unfolds with then fireman Johnny Gage being courted for the paramedic program by his battalion chief. Gage looks at his chief and says, "Chief, I'm a rescue man. I trained to be a rescue man, and I like being a rescue man." This is something I know I believe about myself and many others who were members here over the years, and we train to do and enjoy doing rescue. I close my portion with an excerpt from the book First Aider, written by Julian Stanley Wise from Roanoke. In the prologue, he is lamenting the need for rescue services and life-saving care, and he wrote, "There is no comprehensive history of the safety movement. Someday it will be written and we shall find it a romance of high adventure. It will tell a story of desperate struggles against enormous odds, against nature's relentless forces, against the perils of scientific discovery, against the little understood working of change, and sad to say, against the ignorance of life-saving methods so often improperly applied. Wars come and go in the world's history, but the war against accidents will go on forever." BJ, Billy, are the radios on? Wes, if you can hear me at this particular point in time, I'd like to close with Wes Hutchins from the county radio system, who hopefully will be able to provide us a small soundbite from the past. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I think we just had a great glimpse into the inside baseball story of this wonderful organization. Thank you all for sharing those wonderful memories and the history of this organization. Let's, all those members, former members of the Winston-Salem Rescue Squad, won't you stand up? Let's recognize you all. Thank you. As mayor of the city of 250,000 people, I want to say thank you. And I know the city council members and Mayor Pro Tem joins me in thanking you all for your service to our community. Thank you all for being here. We came here to unveil a marker, so shall we move? We're going to put the door up and move that way. I'd like to invite all the members on the program to come for the unveiling.